Hey, how's it going, guys? Jackson here with Toasty DIY, and today I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little tour of the 280Z, mainly focusing on the interior because, you know, we've done some exterior videos, quite a few actually, and I think we're pretty much up to date on that. There hasn't really been many changes to the outside, but we've definitely done some stuff to the inside of the car, and I am recording on my phone, so sorry if we get any bad wind noise or anything like that, but hopefully it sounds and looks good enough for you guys. But yeah, so this is the 1978 Datsun 280Z, and I'm going to turn this light on so you guys can hopefully see a little bit better. One of the major improvements I've made to this car is this Acu Form Dash. So I actually got this off eBay, but they come in a few different brands and a few different like shapes and sizes essentially from different companies. This one was about $180. Like I said, it is a vacuum formed 280Z dash cap. They come for 240Zs and 260Zs as well. And this one's like a full face cover, they call it, because it goes all the way down. I think it might also be called the deep cover, just because it has these deep grooves. And as you can see with the light here, they fit pretty well. I mean, they really do cover almost everything. It's really hard to tell that it's on here. I mean, one of the main places you can tell, and that's mainly because it's dirty, is up here. Obviously, it hasn't been replaced. That's I think that's actually metal up there. Yeah, painted metal, but then obviously it's plastic back here. But I did have some huge cracks right here. And I know you're supposed to sand them down. I really can't remember if I think I just kind of cut them a little bit with the knife to where there's basically just like two holes that are probably about this big here and here, you know, where all the Z's crack really. We have this nice wood steering wheel that I refinished a long time ago, but as you can see, it's definitely starting to get bad again. Although I didn't really finish it with the best stuff. I just basically sanded it down, then stained it with just regular wood stain, and then I clear coated over it. And really just the clear coat's kind of peeling, and I think it's also just, yeah, really dirty. Isn't that gross? But it is, you know, an original wood steering wheel. I actually got it out of I think a JDM 240Z that was in a junkyard, you know, steering wheel on the other side. So that's pretty cool. I think I paid $5 for it, which, you know, these things go on eBay all day for, you know, $300 to $500 depending on the shape. We do have the original, I think this is a dealer add-on, I want to say. I don't know. I know the reason I started seeing these sell for a lot, and I was like, holy crap. But mine does have like this little gash here, which kind of sucks, but it is, you know, 5-speed shift knob and it works and everything. We also have some aftermarket gauges, which are really cool. I definitely like the gauge choice. I mean, the only thing I don't like is that I'm just a little bit too poor / don't want to spend the money on like a whole SpeedHut kit. But I do have one SpeedHut gauge, and let me go ahead and get my keys out and I'll show you guys that. We have a SpeedHut RPM gauge. It's not the one with the turn signals, so that's like the only downside with it, I guess. I'll go ahead and start it up for you so you can actually see all the gauges working. It's pretty cold out right now, so it's definitely not going to want to stay running very well. Come on. Come on. So you guys get a cold start here too. If it starts. Just gonna have to keep my foot on the gas a little bit, kind of feather it. I'm gonna turn on these lights here so you guys can actually see, but this is definitely my favorite part, is just how bright this gauge is. As you can see, definitely stays very lit up. And then, you know, this is like the OEM light and everything with the green lens. Definitely a little bit darker. And then here, we actually have an AEM air to fuel ratio gauge. I definitely stick by AEM just because, I mean, in my opinion, they're one of the best air to fuel ratio gauges. They actually stay pretty accurate and they actually stay working. I've had a couple of like cheap Amazon gauges, and by cheap I mean like still over $100, but they just crap on you over time. They've really mixed reviews. AEM for the most part like stays with good reviews, and they're very quick to change, and I have not had one that seemed inaccurate. Other than that though, really everything's original. So this actually didn't work. It was an oil, what were these, oil and temperature gauge. Neither one of them worked. I presume it was a bad ground or maybe a bad positive, not really sure. I don't think both cylinders were bad though. And so I put this air to fuel ratio gauge here because this car is turbocharged. And then I also put a water temp gauge right down here. So kind of a little bit in an inconvenient spot. I mean, but really it's like, here's my head right now. I kind of like it because, in my opinion, I can see everything just fine. The only downside is like you can't really always pay attention to the temp gauge, but you know, it's kind of fun to live on the edge. We do have an original clock, original volt and fuel gauge, and then original odometer. This is rolled over once, I believe, so we're at 193. Yeah, a lot of miles on her. The clock actually still works, it just doesn't keep time well. I think it, you know, gains or loses a few seconds per day. But yeah, the SpeedHut gauge, though, pretty nice. I mean, it's electronic, so there's no actual, you know, it's not like a gear-driven tach or anything. It's basically like how the original one is. It's, you know, electronically sent. You only have to make a couple small modifications to get this gauge to work, but definitely nothing too big or complicated. I am obviously missing the horn button. The horn does work. They're really simple to wire up. Basically, all the horn is just this plate right here is on springs, and when you push it down, it makes contact with this other plate, you get a horn. So it's really simple. It just basically works off of ground, I believe. All my lights and everything work fine. I don't think my brights work, though. I think my brights literally just... Oh, they actually work right now. Normally, they don't work, but the brights work today. It's always a fun part about these old cars, you know? You never know when stuff's gonna work and not gonna work. We do have an aftermarket radio, which I don't know why, I just now remembered that, but I feel like that's definitely a nice thing to mention. So it does have Bluetooth. I don't even know if this is hooked up to FM radio. I'm kind of curious. No, you know what? I don't have an antenna. I forgot that I took off the antenna and just never put it back on. But the Bluetooth works amazing. Sounds really good. I'm actually running just two, I think like JBL. It's like the 4.5 inch or whatever size this car takes. They've been in there for a long time. And then in the back here, I actually have a home entertainment subwoofer. So it's not powered or anything, but it's really cool because you know, you don't have to have external power to it, and it actually adds really nice bass to the car. Now, it's not a super bass heavy car by any means. I mean, sadly, just like any other car, once you get like these small speakers up to a little bit too much volume, you start to get like the really bad rattle and everything. So you know, it sounds good, but I would eventually like to, I think, get like a nicer non-powered sub or maybe powered sub and stick it like behind the seat. Because I don't need to have my seat like all the way back. I do have like a little bit of a, I'll show you guys how much I have. I have like a little bit of a gap there. I'd probably say about maybe a foot gap. And I think that's plenty for like one of those low profile speakers. And I think that'd be a lot better than having this just take up trunk space back there. And then the only other thing I really have is this super duper cheap vacuum gauge from Harbor Freight. It was literally, I think these things are like $10, but I really cannot hate on it because not only has it been accurate since I bought it, but on top of that, it even has hookups for lighting as well. And I think you can even change the colors. So yeah, I really can't complain. I mean, I've spent a lot of money on this car and I'm using this cheap gauge and I wish I got a better one, but it's just worked. So I'm just like, why? And it's just being held on to the pillar by a zip tie, which I actually love the location of this. I could not figure out where to put it. I really didn't want to like have to modify this pillar. And the only other thing I could think of maybe doing was like 3D printing a bracket that could go on one of these bolts here maybe, and you know, basically having it come off. But I was like, I mean, I really want it, like, I'm really into like the out of sight out of mind type deal, where I want the car to still kind of look original and everything. And so that's why, like, you know, I kind of stuck the gauge here and I have that there. I could have put like an RPM tack up here obviously if I really wanted to, but I'd rather go with like the sleek look and keep everything looking nice. So this was just the best I could think of where it's right in my sight. But you know, whenever the car is idling, it's always somewhere between like 15 and I'd say like 22 vacuum. And then, you know, when it goes into boost, you definitely see it nice and smoothly go up to about 10 PSI where it's set. So it definitely does a good job for a cheap Harbor Freight gauge. I can't complain. I really just got it just to know if I was building boost. So when I first put all this together, I really didn't. This is my first ever turbocharged car and only like maybe my third or fourth engine swap. So I'm not an expert by any means. And I was like, am I really building boost? I don't know. Or is my engine just being loud? So I got this and confirmed it. So that was nice. But other than that, though, I mean, you know, the interior, I think I've gone over all the stuff that's like, I've I guess, modified. Everything else is pretty original. We still have like the original fuse box. We're obviously not using a lot of these fuses and we're not using like the stock ignition or anything like that because we do have a aftermarket wiring harness. We actually have the GodZilla Raceworks. I think it's 3.57. Has the serial hookup and everything, so you can hook up to it with your laptop and, you know, do some tuning on it. So that's always fun. This is the original glove box and everything, which actually in really good shape. It's kind of surprising looking at it, and it looks new almost, just like the dash. But I guess this plastic just held up really well. I don't even know what that actually is. I've never actually really looked in here. I have seen that, the recommended tire. That's nice that that's still there. But yeah, the inside of the glove box, though, is in great shape. The only other thing I can really think of is, like, you know, the back. I have pretty much all the original trim and everything. You can see a lot. Some of it's just sitting back there. Like, I think it's all back there, but, like, I don't even have it screwed down because, honestly, with these cars, I feel like you're just always taking it apart. Like, that's also not riveted down. This doesn't look like it has a rivet in it. There's nothing there. So, basically, the car's just all just kind of held in place as far as the interior goes, because I was just always, like, fixing stuff, you know, as I went. So, I don't know. I always didn't really feel the need to put stuff back in if I felt like I was going to take it off again, but, you know, don't do that. Other than that, though, I mean, we have some more cracks here, but I never cared about, like, these type of cracks. They're just so small that I kind of ignore them. This is nice and crooked, too. You can see, like, the difference of the gap here and there. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So if you guys, want to see any more updates of the either Datsuns, we also have the KTM 390, and obviously we're in the 280Z, and hopefully some future cars to come. I actually am looking at another Roadster that's kind of like this one. It's like a darker red, but it's original paint, and it's a 1970, so it's a tall windshield, 4-speed with a with an R16, so like same build pretty much. But I'm looking at one of those, and it's like an all original, just from a guy that I used to work on it back in the day, and you know, it's getting a little bit hard for him to get in and out of, so I was like, man, I will take it off your hands. So I may have a video on that, so make sure you subscribe to see future content and leave a like and comment. Peace out.